Welcome back to the Respect the Drive podcast.
Thank you.
You can say hi to my friend Mike here.
Thank you.
Mike has a great story.
Yeah, my name's Mike, but I guess we can jump right into it.
Yeah, why not? So before we get started,
Yeah.
a quick plug for myself. If you want to support the channel, you can follow me on Patreon. Even $1 a month is a nice little donation to the pot. We're definitely trying to get our microphone game upgraded. I've got the video stuff going, and now that we're doing the podcast, it's like, oh my god, look how expensive this stuff gets. It's like, you want 3 people on your podcast, every person you want in, if you want a microphone individually. Yeah, you're talking like another $300-400 at least, and then so anyway, enough of my complaining, but if you want like a Course exhaust, you can also use coupon code Tedward for 5% off. So that's my self plug.
All right.
Today we're going to talk to Mike because Mike has had an E92 335i, and it very dramatically burned to the ground.
Yes, that was not good. So, I drove the car like 2,000 miles the few days before. So I drove to Denver, and then I was in Denver for a while, and drove back.
Right, because you go to school in Kansas?
I go to school in Kansas. I go to Kansas State, and I went with a buddy, and we just climbed in Colorado for a little, and we drove back that night before. And then the next day, I got back, and I had some tires that got chipped in. I got PS4Ss.
Yeah, what a nice gift to yourself, right? Oh, I just spent like $1,200-1,500 on tires.
Yeah, and so I got the Pilot Sport 4Ss, and I got them put on, and went to a friend's house, washed the car, and then we were like, let's go drive around for a little. I got these brand new tires. I'm happy.
As you would.
As you would. And we drove around for a little, and it was fine. And we were not pushing the car very hard. we're like, oh, they brake so hard, but we weren't. Sure. It's Kansas. There aren't many corners anyways. And then we were driving on a back road, kind of just enjoying. And on the way back, I smelled something a little funny, and I was like, what is that?
That's the story of my life. Every time I drive my car, I'm always like, what's that smell? And 99% of the time, it's like a drip of oil on my exhaust.
Just like hit the exhaust once.
So you're like, what is that? And the first thing I do is I look around for the nearest diesel truck, hoping that it's not me, and that it's like, and then when you're like on a road all by yourself, there's no one around, and you're like, I smell diesel. You're like, this isn't a diesel. It has to be burning oil.
Yeah. And I was with my buddy Andrew, and we were both really confused because we were not pushing the car like in any fast, because I first thought, like, is it brakes? Am I smelling brakes? Like, we've been driving normally. I thought maybe a brake locked up in the back, maybe a parking brake stuck. I don't know. And so it smelled a little funny, and then the engine started, instead of being a smooth inline 6, started going kukum, 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 and it sounded like it was misfiring or something. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's not character. It's an N55.
Yes, it's an N55. It was a 2011, and so it was. We're driving. I can still imagine in my head. It's like, but I start to pull over once the kunk happens, and I get like 2 error message. I get an engine like with the line through it.
Yep.
With the half of it bad for BMW, like please pull over, and I'm like okay.
Like, yo, limp mode, limp mode.
And then the 4x4 light came on for the.
Oh, you have all-wheel drive.
For all-wheel drive.
Yeah. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
BMW 4x4. That sounds so aggressive.
And so I pull over in the second. This is like 30 feet later, because I was like, we gotta stop now.
Right.
And so I pull over, and the second I am coming to a halt, smoke pours through the vents. And I'm like, Andrew, get out, call 911. I'm gonna call my mom.
So were you in the car with your friend, or was he following you?
No, he was in the car with me.
Oh no. And
so I get out of the car, I pop the hood, which in retrospect I probably shouldn't have done because it fed air to the fire, but I didn't know,
For the sake of the video, I am thankful you made that choice, because the drama that adds to it is just outrageous. But granted, you shouldn't be near anything that you think is on fire. You should just get the heck out of the way.
No, I teach a class at Kansas State, and the first thing I did in the class back, I'm like, all right, this is what you do when your car burns to the ground, because I didn't know, but now I know because it happened yesterday. Oh my
god.
But anyway, I popped the hood, and there's a small fire that developed. It was probably a foot tall, and the flames were just like licking the top, because it was right behind the engine up against the firewall, and I could see the flames coming from low down, like tickling up by the top, and I blew on them twice, but I can't put it out. And I didn't carry, obviously I didn't have a fire extinguisher on me or I wouldn't have burned to the ground.
We don't know that. I mean, a fire extinguisher, plus like
Yeah.
fire extinguishers that come in cars tend to be like pretty small.
Yeah.
They're honestly more like, gives you just enough time to get maybe like, your bag of money and Coke out of the car and like make sure that, hey, the cops aren't going to find this. When I don't know. Like, I really don't ever see anybody like, I can't imagine, especially with like the Lamborghini and McLaren fires that we've seen somewhat recently, I can't imagine an under-seat fire extinguisher solving that problem.
No, I mean, I carried a fire extinguisher on me I used to have a Porsche 944 because that car was like, it was sketchy enough to where I thought it necessitated it.
Well, and that's where you were introduced to the channel, was when we drove your 944. Yeah.
And I carried a fire extinguisher in that car, but in the Beamer, I was like,
it's a mom car.
It's a mom car. It's a 2011. It's not going to burn to the ground. Like,
no.
But and so the fire was burning, and the hood I was propped up, and after I saw I couldn't put it out, I was like, all right, let's stand back and like not. And then a few minutes later, which is when the video was taken, the hood fell down on itself and then was just kind of burning like up from the sides of the hood, and that's when the little puff of I'm assuming a fuel rail burst.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
And
the fuel rail burst.
You get the bang.
Yeah. I'm glad nothing else went bang. I think I had a full tank of gas, which was good because I don't think you want like the vapor.
Yeah. And like, I mean, look, I would be hard pressed to even be able to light liquid fuel on fire with a match. Like, fuel doesn't burn like the movies when it's just liquid, but when you do have that pressure, it will add
the vapor.
And like your car was just on fire.
Yeah,
like,
no, it was really, really burning.
The fuel was the fuel for that fire was no longer like a fuel rail. It was the car. The car was the fuel.
No, my lungs were filled with saddle brown leather for 2 weeks. It was
Yeah.
not good.
Well, so when this happened, you sent me without any preface. You didn't say like, "Hey Tom, like look what something bad happened. I got to show you." You just sent videos, and it had happened like that day.
Maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, I didn't because I called my mom. I was like, "What do I do?" Like,
there's no one ever prepares you for that. Like you see it in videos, and you're like, "Well, sucks to suck."
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know," and so
call the fire
my friend was already on the, but because we're in the freaking middle of nowhere, Kansas, it took, I want to say 20 minutes for the fire department to get there, which is why the car was just like a pile of ash at the end.
Right. Well, so here's my thing. These firefighters were ultra bold.
Yes. And these were volunteer firefighters too.
For volunteer firefighters who like probably just deal with like cats and trees most of the time, or like, a drug overdose. These guys were legit. Like, look, I'm not a firefighter. There might be firefighters who watch them approach this and go, Jesus, that's not how we're trained. I don't know. If you're a firefighter, like, you should probably like comment below and let me know like what that is supposed to be. But all I know is that guy just like walks to the car.
Just inside the fire for a second.
He did not care. And like the shot, I'm like probably gonna use that as my thumbnail because it's like this dude just in a car fire. Like no fucks given.
Yeah, so I mean, a big fire engine showed up, and they're the ones that put it out, and then no ambulance came or anything because we were like, we're fine. Like,
and they didn't have like a hydrant. They used the tank.
They used the tank. I mean, there's no hydrants like anywhere near us. And so they put out the fire probably 20 minutes later, and the fire had, I mean, obviously it started in the front and just evaporated everything in the front, and it got to like about the back seats. Because the trunk was still okay if they didn't pry open the back of the pry bar, but everything else was just kind of brown.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at the pictures of the interior, which I'll just be playing them through this if you're watching it, not listening on SoundCloud. The interior is like it looks like an old jalopy. It's just like springs and like
all you can really see there's black goop everywhere, and then anything that's not black are the frame of the seats, the post that the steering wheel is mounted to because the steering wheel all melted,
right,
and then where the shifter was, and that's it. That's the only metal in the whole car.
It's absolutely outrageous. Like I really was shocked. I was like, wow, that car. Like when I say it burned to the ground, this car burned to the ground.
They were literally they were like scooping up in shovels the stuff and putting it on the back of the flatbed with it and like brooming up the ash from the ground. It was so bad.
So all I'm picturing now, we knew that there were some issues with these cars because BMW had put out like a recall on like a climate control fan switch
like,
or something like that.
But I think that was on our side, or not our side, but on the driver's side of the firewall. Like I don't think that was
agreed. And this seemed like a little weird. And the car, look, so I'm gonna approach this from like the obnoxious forum angle. Where
well, let me say one thing before this happens. This car was not modified in any way that could have caused it to happen. It came with the performance power kit from BMW, like their tune for the car.
Yep.
Which bumps you like 15 horsepower. Like it's just it adds torque. But that's from BMW. I had a intake on it and an intercooler.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, but like that's like it breathed better.
Sure.
But that was like it didn't have any sort of it. Like I would have been. Another thing is like closure for the thing is I had no like BMW. We'll get back to that, but BMW never got back to me. And like if I had hooked up like a meth injection system to the windshield washer fluid, like I'd be like, all right, my bad.
Yeah, like I clearly was tinkering, something went wrong.
Yeah, but this is just I just
no, because I remember the car. There was nothing to the car. So all right, so did you post this anywhere? Did you show like as far as I remember, like it was kind of within our group of our little group where like I saw this. I never saw this really go anywhere.
No, I didn't. I sent it to some friends and was like, hey, look what happens when a car burns down. And I like my parents and a few relatives knew it, but nothing.
Well, because so the same way that like the M3 world freaks out about rod bearings and you know that kind of like ethos, that feeling, that spirit of like fear. You have every way of like creating fear in the community by saying, "Here's my stock car."
Yeah.
Look what happened. And so the fact that you didn't, A, is kind of cool. But B, like you really could have like blown up the not to be too punny, but like you could have like blown up the BMW community by showing this and saying like, hey, I have an N55 335i with how many miles were on it?
77,000.
That's such a reasonably normal car. Everything about this car is normal. And then it burned to the ground.
Yeah. Nothing stopped. Yeah.
So all right. So you get through the fire. We kind of postponed this discussion for a while because like you don't know what insurance looks like on this until you go through it.
Yeah, until they hand you the check. Yeah.
Which they did.
Which they did, and it was great. And I got basically what I paid for the car and put 10,000 miles and a year and a half on it.
Okay, good.
So thank you. Who I don't know who our insurance some insurance company.
Okay, this isn't sponsored.
But
if you want to sponsor us, well, all right. And then like, what does it look like? How do you alert BMW of this?
So BMW did I feel like a pretty good job responding because I pretty much called BMW North America and said, hey, my car burned to the ground. Can you figure out why? Like, if anything, because obviously my car burned to the ground, insurance will pay, it doesn't matter, whatever. But if this were to happen to anyone else, like, if they could figure out and that's why I also reported it to the NHTSA, because if they get a bunch of claims saying... All
right. How do you do that?
You just go online. It's
an
online...
I feel dumb. This isn't like a normal thing I do. I'm not like, I'm just going to go quickly call the NHTSA. Hey, it's Jimmy. Jimmy from the NHTSA. What happened today, Tom? That's not a thing.
No, so there's a thing you can fill out online. It's I think it's linked to the NHTSA website, and you can it's super easy.
Did you think of that, or did your insurance company suggest it?
No, I thought of that.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah, the insurance company was actually kind of terrible. Other than them giving me a good check for the car, they were so unorganized about this entire thing. But no, and so the NHTSA, I reported it, and they said in the report that they probably won't get back to you. This will just get filed, and if they get enough claims for that thing, it's like the Takata airbags.
So if 20 cars burn to the ground,
exactly.
Okay.
So then maybe they'll come back, but obviously that'll still take time because.
Yeah.
But whatever. And so I reported to them just through email and that stuff, and I called BMW North America and kind of got moved up the ranks of who I was talking to slowly.
Because they were excited. They wanted to
not excited, but like some freaking guy in a cubicle is getting this call like. Like this is not my normal.
Yeah. Did they have your images and video? And
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
So if I'm an HTSA or if I'm BMW, I'm like, Oh, you gotta see this. Like, that's like office talk. That's like, I'm getting coffee in the morning and you're like, dude, you're not gonna believe the email I got this morning.
Oh, well, I mean, it was basically what all of our car guys were like. We're like, holy I cannot believe that happened.
That's unreal.
And so I called them and slowly ended up talking to this. I don't remember what his kind of status or level was, but he and I talked for a while, and then he forwarded all the information and all the photos. We had a 30 or 45-minute phone conversation talking about the whole thing. He was trying to get all the details he could, and then he forwarded that to one of their groups of engineers that focuses on this. And then again, they said, we'll probably not get back to you because like there's nothing
You're the only guy.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do for you really. But we'll report this on, and like, I mean, I hope that they figured something out, and there's maybe because not necessarily even that this could affect someone else, but I would just like to know like that
What
someone knew
happened.
what happened. Exactly.
Right. No, you want closure on the situation.
Exactly.
Like,
And I don't even personally closure. I just need a reason in the universe that this happened.
yeah, no, I'm with
'Cause-
you. Like, that is frustrating. So what I can tell you is that, like, I mean, I work for an automotive company. We do manufacture parts for the automotive industry, and I can guarantee that there are very like high people at BMW who saw your car.
Yeah.
Like who know that it
Possibly.
happened, and there are engineers who looked at it and they probably know exactly what it was, and they'll just say, yep, that was the one in, you know,
And again, like, it could be
800,000.
that. Yeah.
You know, like, it's not going to happen again. You're the guy.
Yeah.
But then again, they had the climate issue, and that had to have started with one car.
Exactly. This one car is just parked in, because that was another thing, is those cars that used to happen when they were parked. Is people would leave them, and it was a problem because people's like garages were burning down. So they park it overnight, and then all of a sudden their car bursts up in flames.
Yeah, that's not great.
But yeah, BMW actually did a pretty good job talking, responding. They ended up offering a little bit of money to me if I were to buy a newer used car from them, but it didn't.
Tough
doesn't
to hang on to that brand loyalty when your car is burned to the ground. And yeah, I think the other side, like the benefit to them not putting a huge like effort into figuring it out, is because if they do that,
Exactly.
it's more public, right?
It's more public, and if they are like, oh, we'll buy you a new one, like that's them admitting fault.
Yeah, little do they know.
Yeah.
Little old Tedward over here exposing BMW.
Exposing BMW. Yeah. So yeah, it ended up being all right, and so that was probably a week or so after it happened. The same thing with the NHTSA, and then insurance took about a month, maybe a little over that, because we fought back a little occasionally because they ended up offering us like dirt for the car, and we were like, wait a minute.
You're like,
This thing was pretty nice.
yeah, like,
And
oh,
so-
sorry, we appraised it, and it's 900 pounds lighter
Yes.
than it used to be. And you're like, yeah, well, it burned to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. They sent an appraiser off originally. I was like, why do you need an appraiser? Like, can I just tell you the details? They're like, we need to make sure it's totaled. And I was like,
Oh, I got this. I can pretty much confirm that right here, right now.
yeah, I can send you a photo of them like sliding the hunk of melted metal onto the back of the.
I mean, I've seen cars get totaled because of a smell.
Really?
Like interior smell that just like, it's so
Cannot come
rank,
out.
it's like not livable. And like they'll total a car over that. And I'm like, your car? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is it totaled? Think it's totaled?
I'll
What
let
body
you take
shop?
a look yourself. Yeah.
God bless any body guy
Yeah.
who can restore that.
I'm sure it's just part of their system. They just do it every time. But I thought that was kind of funny.
That's
So
kind of
it's-
cute. They're following protocol. Yeah. Well, all right. I mean, I don't. It's such a weird story because the car was essentially stock, and that's what. Like the first thing
Yeah.
I thought was, oh no, climate control. And you can see where the fire is. It's right in front of that firewall.
Yeah, one of the first photos I have is when the fire just started, and you can see because the hood. It's a beautiful profile shot of the car.
You did. Can I just say, you did an exceptional job. Now, not only was I shocked when I saw the video you sent me, I was so proud of you. I was like,
well documented.
I was
this
like, are
was.
you crazy? Like, you got the best video of a car fire. It looked like I filmed it. Like, it looked like I had my equipment, and I was like, God bless Apple's iPhone. Like, that is good,
incredible.
good stuff.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
The explosion's cinematic.
That's truly
It
great.
is like you couldn't have planned that better. No, like I couldn't have
It was a
created
beautiful
that.
day. The sky was blue. The sun was shining. Yeah. And so, but anyways, one of the first photos they have is a side profile of the car, and the hood's popped up. You could see this tiny little fire. If you weren't looking for it, it'd be like, what a beautiful side profile of the car.
Sure.
But there's this tiny fire that you can see like licking up from right behind the engine, starting to hit the hood. And that's how you can see kind of how best it was started, because I don't have any photos. Like when I was originally looking at it, I didn't have my phone out at that time. But after I knew it was far gone, I just started documenting.
So, all right, now that that car's gone, you've gotten your check. How far did your brand loyalty to BMW go?
It did not go very far. It went to zero far. And that's, people have asked me, like just friends that don't know about this, and they're like, what do you think of 335s? So I was thinking about getting the car, and I was like, it is a good car, but I cannot personally recommend you buy a 335.
No, once that's happened,
Yeah.
it's like game
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. And again, this is probably just the 1 in 100,000, like, who knows? This may never happen again to anyone. This may have just been like the randomest little...
Right, but your personal experience is like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm all set with the E92 and
Yes,
55
exactly.
platform. So what did you buy?
I got an E-Class, a 2011 E63. It's a Mercedes, and the car is bipolar, and it is lovely.
Yeah, I think that's a good Kansas car too.
Yeah, it's a great Kansas car. I mean, I drive back and forth from Kansas at least 2 times, sometimes three times a year.
I would take the Mercedes to do that. Yeah, no, 100%.
And I mean, the Beamer was a great car to do it in too. I'm not complaining an inch about that. I love that car while it was not on fire. But
it's like that's like, I love my partner, but when he shoots a blowtorch at my face, it's really unfortunate.
yeah.
But other than that,
it was a great ownership experience.
Like, how was the amusement park? The roller coasters were amazing, except when it derailed and one of the guys fell out and died. But other than that,
it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the E63 is, I mean, people know it's a great car. It drives well. You hit some buttons and all of a sudden it's tight and fun and all that stuff. It makes great noises.
That's good. That's good. Well, I like that you're a road trip guy. I like that and you're also reasonable about this. Like, there's definitely people out there who would not be reasonable about this, and not that they're not correct in being unreasonable, but I do think that there's some BMW fanboys out there that would defend this to the nth degree, just to be able to say that like BMW is the greatest maker of all. Look, if you need to believe that, great. But if your personal car burns to the ground, it's time to walk.
And I mean, I would, and like if I had the money, if insurance just like randomly paid me $30,000 for the car, which would have been great, like I would have gone and bought an M5. Like that would have been awesome. Like I don't hate BMW. I don't it just kind of happened, and like I wouldn't recommend that car anymore, but it was kind of...
Well, I do, you're not the first one in recent memory in our little group of friends to have cars burn to the ground. We had a Performante Spider burn to the...
Really?
Was it the Coupe? I forget.
I don't know.
It was, so I'm not going to name names here, but it was in Copley. It made a lot of news.
Really?
One of our mutual friends was driving the car, and it lit up on fire right in front of the Boston Public Library.
Oh!
And it just burned to the ground. And it's kind of glorious because you get to see firefighters go in and just tear a Lamborghini apart. And the crowd was immense because you're in Copley Square. If you don't know Boston, Copley Square is pretty densely populated. It's very businessy, but it's also a touristy place. So
there's tons of people walking around.
Anyone and everyone.
When a Lamborghini's burning down.
Yeah, and then, McLaren hasn't had any shortages of interesting fires because they've had Sennas burn to the ground. They've had, I think, P1s, definitely 720s, 570s. And then as of late, what's the new car? The GT or the McLaren GT? Is that what they're calling it?
I don't know off the top of my head.
That's their new 720S Grand Tourer or whatever.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It's their flagship touring car.
Yeah.
And that burned. I'm sure it's pre-production, but there is footage of it burning to the ground at a gas station.
Yeah.
And I don't. So it's either that the media that we're so connected now that we're able to see this, or more cars are burning to the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, on the statement of cars burning to the ground and everyone should be concerned, let me just quickly say what you should do when your car burns to the ground, because this is what I figured out. Take all the stuff out, which I didn't think about until the fire was big enough to where I was like, I probably shouldn't get any closer to that.
So just as a disclaimer, this is when you're on an airplane, they're like, don't grab your fucking bag, just leave the airplane.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you have the opportunity to get your shit.
Yeah, the fire was burning slow enough, I should have gone in. I left a bunch of stuff in the car, which was annoying and dumb, and there was stuff in the trunk that then smelled like smoke that I had to throw away.
Was there any good stuff that you were like, man, I don't have that now?
there
Like laptops or like...
No, there was not laptops, but I had this ring that I got a few years ago that like, again, dumb, but like it burned to the ground and it was annoying and it was whatever. I had like 2 pocket knives that I really like, just like a bunch of random stuff that I would have liked to still own and no longer own.
That's a bummer. And like I'm definitely guilty of like leaving a lot of things in my car. Like unless I'm at the track, my car is like never actually appropriate to like flog around because there's like stuff flying around in the car. Like so like when I go to the track, I'm always like horribly embarrassed by the things I'm taking out of my car.
Yeah.
Because like you unload everything at an autocross or a track day, and then you're just like, oh my god, this has been in here for 2 years.
Yeah. No, but insurance is actually pretty good because they paid, like, for example, I had a Thule rack on the top.
Yeah.
And they paid for 80% of the Thule rack, like, the new price. And so that was good. They did that with a few things. But something that sucked is, like, those PS4Ss that were $1,000, like, gone. Like, instantly.
That's, like, actually really upsetting to me. Like, you just went and did a good thing for the car.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're like, oh god, like I'll have this grip for the rest of the summer. And
yeah,
nope.
like it wouldn't have been so bad if you like put on a set of all seasons. You're like, Jesus, these tires are corded. Like it's time to just get the cheapest crap I can find.
No, I switched off my winters and put those on.
Where'd you buy them from?
I got them from Tire Rack.
Tire Rack, eh? Interesting.
Yeah.
I like Tire Rack.
I love Tire Rack.
I love Tire Rack. Hey, Tire Rack. I love Tire Rack.
I would be able to talk about Tire Rack so much in the future. I mean, I could just go on and on.
I wonder what would happen if you called Tire Rack and you're like, hey, so I put 50 miles on these tires. Does this get covered under road hazard? That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. No, there was, all that was left of the front tires was like probably 5 individual strands of metal that went around the melted wheel. Oh.
So I'm on my computer right now because I'm trying to look up the car. So Chris Amos, my colleague at Winding Road Magazine, we went to this event and we drove like all these cars, and he drove the new BMW 3 Series. And so it's a silent POV that he did. He came back from driving the car and he was like, Tom, this is awful.
Really?
He's like, that was awful. And he was like, the car was rattling. It felt like garbage and like all this stuff. And like,
it's a press car or what?
So that's what I'm not totally sure. I didn't drive it, so I didn't get to kind of back up the claim. But because there was such an enormous amount of cars at this event, this MAMA, Midwest Automotive Media Association thing, I was like, well, then I'm going to go drive other stuff. Like I didn't really want to waste my time driving a car that I was going to be like really disappointed with. I'm like, oh, let's go drive like more Miatas on track. Yeah. Right. So
the hell, yeah.
Yeah. And Chris is not the type, so I'm the type, like, I'm like ultra vocal. If I hate something, I'm like, this is the biggest hunk of shit. Like, I can't recommend this or whatever. Chris is more like, if he says something's bad, you're like, whoa, this must be bad. Like, he's a lot more forgiving.
Just like kind of, yeah.
He's not forgiving about dynamic stuff, but I think he'll be more forgiving about like, well, yeah, it's a $40,000 car. Like, that's what you're getting out of this interior. And like, because I always kind of hated the F30 to begin with. Because you got in that car and unless you spec'd out at least $10,000 in options, it felt like a base Camry inside. And you're like, how do they charge this? So BMW's kind of been on my bad side for a while anyway. Well, I mean, it's an unexpected story of a stock car. I mean, it's like you said, it's one thing if your car's meth injected and all that stuff,
exactly.
And you're like, well, yeah, and then you want to like remove the evidence before the insurance company.
Yeah.
But like, I know I've seen that car. I know I've seen it drive. I know you weren't running like some 600 wheel monster running on like E85 like or like
320 wheel.
Yeah, no,
not wheel, 320 crank.
320 crank.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it was. So I mean, the fact that this burned to the ground is shocking, upsetting, and
no, I mean, I have a friend that's like running their 335 like to the rev limiter of the turbo, like boosting it to 20, and like it doesn't matter. Like it's just like the car just takes it, and so I think it was just a freak.
Yeah, and you expect things to happen in those cars more like, oh, well, like, I dropped a valve, or I spun a bearing.
Like random electrical stuff, like, oh, like, my interior lights don't work. Like, random stuff like that, you know?
Well, so, I mean, to me, like, if I were to hazard a guess, I'd say this started with an electrical thing, and then just spread. Like, because if it was that close to the firewall, it's probably, like, something in the harness.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an electrical engineer, and I'm sure as hell not going to go and, like, make my assumptions about what BMW's failure points are on something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like stock. I mean, everything was stock. I mean, I'm going through a list of like stuff that's kind of under behind there, and nothing has been touched. I put in an intercooler, like please.
Yeah. Oh I put in a drop-in air filter. Like your cold air intake causes your car to burn to the ground.
Yeah. On another front, the brakes in the AMG, I called I do rock climbing a lot, and so the gym I go to is Central Rock Gym in Waltham.
Yeah.
And right across from them, when I first went there, I saw Eurocraft Motorsports, and there were a bunch of M5s outside, and I was like, sweet, now I know where to get work done on my car.
Yeah.
And so I called them and asked how much it would be to do brakes, and they're like, yeah, it's $300 in labor plus all this stuff. I was like, I could probably do that in my garage.
Wait, $300?
$300 to do pads all around.
Not including them. That's just labor,
Yeah,
right?
that's just labor.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Really?
Yeah, that's because here's the deal. Like when so you're right. You absolutely can do that. $300 is like kind of nice.
Really?
And that's just pads, not rotors.
Pads all around.
Yeah, that's kind of nice because you'll be in and out, and like you don't have to touch it. And like I've gotten to this point now, and actually, so I'll go into this in a second too, because my Porsche's up at KMC, Catchell Motor Company, which is already kind of like he's the best, which is why I'm horrified.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just I feel like I just dropped my car off at like BBI, and I'm gonna get a bill that I'm gonna go, huh, neat.
Thanks.
But like the joy of like actually having someone else do work on your car is like that's the ultimate luxury. But at the same time, you have like monoblock rotors on the E63.
Yes,
it's
all
so
around.
easy.
It's like I
knock out those
it's just
pins.
they fall out.
And
so I did that the other night, and it was. I mean, I've never changed pads before. So I never had to do them in the 944. I never did them in the 335.
So I envy the fact that your first pad job was on like the easiest like my M3. The way it's like a standard caliper. It's
they like clamp. Yeah,
yeah,
it's got like clamshell.
And it's horrendous. Like it is easy for someone that has like a good rhythm at doing it. Like if you're somebody who like changes in and out pads all the time. Like okay, great. But like I would kill. For the like, I almost want to spend $7,000 on a big brake kit just so
you can have the big. Yeah,
I'm with you. Like,
so that was good. It was super easy. I mean, all of them. I think I did all of them. It was my first time. It took a little bit of time because I was watching a YouTube video. Like, all right, got it, and then getting my screwdriver in there. But
here's my issue. I never watch I always forget to, and this is really dumb of me. I always forget to look it up on YouTube before I do anything, and then I'm midway and I realize like, oh, you kind of did this out of order.
Yeah.
And like there was a better way to do it, and then so like I'm the type where like if I do my pads, I'll like take a caliper apart completely, and then I'm like, ah, crap, why did I do this? Like I could have done this so much easier.
Why is the subframe out?
Yeah.
That happened.
But so all right, so the Porsche's up at KMC because there's two things that need to be done in this car. Number one, there's an axle boot that's torn on the right rear. So like it's clearly not greased anymore. You can actually see where it's like flung the grease all over the car. But like so I feel a little dumb because it's probably been like that since I bought the car or like shortly thereafter.
Whatever.
So like I've only put 4,000 miles in the car, so it's not that horrendous. But like
it's summer. I mean,
yeah. Chances are I've probably put some miles. So my fear was like, oh no, like have I done damage to like the diff or like whatever that's So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that I don't have to have a new axle installed. Because like, which isn't expensive. It's like $300.
Yeah.
But like, I would like to salvage the old axle and make sure that it can be repacked and everything. Like that'd be cool. So that's I'm hoping that they can do up there at KMC. In addition to that, the brakes, and I've talked about this in like anytime I've driven the car on camera. The brakes, the car rotates clockwise when you stand on it.
I heard about that. Yeah.
It's really weird because so there's two ways to think about this. Either the right rear is more aggressive than everything else because if you stand on the brakes, it'll just lock up that right rear.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's unsettling because it literally unsettles the car when you stand on the brakes. Like it turns to the right, so you have to counter steer when you
turns
brake.
to the right until it locks up, and then that's the one that doesn't have static friction.
So either that one's like extra boosted, which doesn't seem to make sense, or the left rear is just seized and not compressing, and so it's making it so that one's actually getting more. I don't know. So we'll see. I'm hoping it's not like whatever, but here's the deal. Like David just had the Cayman up at KMC. Okay. I'm not going to say his bill out loud because that's unfair, but let's just say he probably could have just bought another Cayman.
Oh my God. He needs a tooth fairy.
And like, it's pretty horrific because he showed me like the invoice and it's like, it's extensive. It's not like he
did a bunch of work.
It's absolutely reasonable for the work that was done.
Yeah.
And like the amount of parts he put into the car, like he put so many new parts in the car. With,
really?
Like, a new...
Put an LSD in, right?
LSD, lightweight flywheel, new clutch, an electric hydraulic power steering pump, which is maybe the coolest thing, because when you turn the car on, you hear this, like, helicopter, like... and it just keeps going. It like never stops
Wow.
spooling up, and I'm like, when does it stop? And it's this cool. It's the coolest thing. And there's like a bunch of like GT3 parts that he put in the car.
yeah.
And so yeah, I mean like
Go fast bits.
for
Yeah.
what it is, it's reasonable. And now this is a track car that, as long as it doesn't get crashed, will be able
really
to be
nice, yeah.
abused for 10 years.
yeah.
So for that, I understand it. But you know, my 911, I just wanted to be a driver. So like, I gave it to KMC. I said like, you know, go over the car, kind of give me the list of what you think should be done.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna cherry pick because like I'm not made of money. I can't put 10, 15 grand into this thing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. No, that makes
that's
sense.
just not where I'm at. Like it needs to be a driver, but like it doesn't need to be like, hey, let's fully restore.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
it's gonna be
there.
ridiculous.
I need to make sure that I'm not damaging the car while I'm driving it. End of story. Like if it's blowing a little oil, well, is it going to kill it? No. Keep driving. Great.
Yeah.
Engine rebuild someday.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, things
the
like
944 is the same way, where it, like it leaked oil and it's like, yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's okay.
And your 944 ended unceremoniously.
Yeah, that did not go well.
So that car was cool because like I remember driving that, and when I first drove it on camera, or the only time I drove it on camera, we were on like kind of the shoddy like General tires or Fusions.
I can tell you, we were on 12-year-old Michelin Pilot Sports.
That's impressive that fit. Were those a 15?
Those were just they were 15-inch Fuchs, and that was just like the tire that they put on it. But they were dry rotted.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they were dry rotted.
Yeah, luckily we didn't push the car that day. We kind of buzzed around.
No, and I never really pushed the car. I mean, when I bought that car, I had a Honda Accord before then, and I realized that I liked driving, so I was like, screw the Honda. Like, I need to get something that, like...
How opposite can you get
Yeah.
for, like, reliability? You're like, hey, screw this Honda that takes 87 octane and takes, like, 4.8 quarts of oil.
20,000 miles. Yeah, no. And so, not actually, don't do that. And then we ended up putting, not we, but you experienced the R888s that got put on it.
So that's why when you put the R888s on it, and that was when I was like, I should put this on my car.
Yeah,
and that's what I did.
It transformed the car.
It was
I mean,
great.
it got, because with the dry rot, I mean, obviously 944s are not that powerful, and with those not good tires, you could like step the back end out and you could play around a little.
But you couldn't really carry in a momentum. Because it was terrifying anyway.
Yeah. It wasn't that great, but like if you were taking an exit ramp or something, like you could feel at 30 miles an hour, you could feel like, oh, if I lift off here, I'll get a little oversteer. Like you can feel the kind of idiosyncrasies of that car, which was cool. And then with the R888s, it's like, I'm going 100 if anything's gonna do the same what I felt, and then I won't be able to save it because I'm not good enough. But.
That's how I felt when I put the Nittos on the M3. Like, I want to talk about how your 944 ended. So
yes,
for anyone,
yes.
but like the Nittos on the M3, I remember when I first put them on, I went and like scrubbed them, right? Like I went and tried to take it down to like the driving road that I like late at night, so that way the only thing that would get hurt if I got hurt was a deer, or just me in a tree.
Yeah.
And that's it. But like you know, I know the M3 pretty well, and I knew its limits on the PS4s, but I'm like, geez, like I'm really upping
like
the limits
way
here.
more grip.
And so when I really started pushing it, I was just like, oh no, like this is no longer even appropriate for the street, and I was terrified of like, what are they going to do when they let go? So I didn't really let it get to that level on the street. And then when I finally got to Palmer last week, or 3 weeks ago, that's when I was like, oh my God, the Nittos are amazing. The breakaway is so delicious.
Yeah.
And
when you can really push it and experience what those tires are made for,
People poo-poo on the Nittos because it's an old tire.
Yeah.
But when they let go, they're really generous and I don't know, it's a respectable tire, whereas like the R888Rs, they're a little snappier. The breakaway isn't that great.
They take a while to heat up too.
Yeah, so which is fine because like I'm really not pushing the 911. Like I do.
Well, in retrospect, I shouldn't have put R888s on the 944 because like that is too much tire for that car. It would be more fun to put less tire on that car and be able to play around more. And I'd also probably have higher grip because when I'm doing a maneuver in the R888s, they're cold. Like I wasn't frequently on the track, and so you can't take advantage of actually experiencing what those tires are. Like the ideal operating temperature for those tires are 180 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's
like I'm not going to do that on the street.
No. So while on track, that's where the car ended.
Yeah.
What tires you were on the R888s?
I was on the R888s. It was.
This is at Thompson.
Yeah. This was. It's a sad story. And I mean, obviously, I take a lot of credit.
Oh, by the way, before you even start this,
Yeah.
I got a comment on your 944 video.
Yeah.
It was the old owner of the car
Oh, Rich. Oh no.
And he was like, hey, I bought this car from like this old lady or something. And he was like, man, I hope it's great.
Oh.
And I read
Rich,
it like,
I'm so sorry.
I like read it before bed, and I just like
crying.
I like almost cried because I was like, oh, I don't want to tell him.
Damn.
So I never responded to it. I didn't even like it or like give it. Yeah, because I was like, this just like makes me.
Rich was a really good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, let me bring it up. But yeah, tell your story.
Yeah.
About
So
what
pretty
happened.
much, I was on the R888s. It was my first track day ever, and I was all excited about it. And we were getting there, and it started off really good. And then a little drizzle came in, and we were like, all right, fine. Like, I went out for one session, it was kind of dry, and at the end of the first session, it was drizzling a little. And then the other groups went out, and then it started raining a little harder. But it still was like very drivable, like fine. And then near the end of the session, probably 15 minutes into the 20-minute session, it started raining really hard, and I did one lap, and I was doing one more lap, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go in because it's raining too hard. There's starting to be puddles on the track. It's getting bad. And I didn't think I was pushing the car that hard. I was like, well, let me just work my way back, and that'll be it. And on turn 3, I think, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but the car, I just went to turn it, and just nothing. Understeer, hydroplane straight off the track into about 150 foot of runoff grass.
So you had a lot of room to think about how this was going to unfold.
Yeah, it sucked. It felt like it took a year. And so I straightened the car back out, and I wasn't even on the brakes, so I didn't want to brake and then have the car start to rotate on me.
Yeah.
Because the grass was obviously wet, and it was just like an ice rink.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm probably just best hitting this guardrail head on. I didn't know how fast I was going. I mean, you can look at the photos I took after and assume based on how much it was crushed. But I hit the wall and was like, damn.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Did you have track insurance?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the car was $4,000. I mean, it was...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so the comment comes from Doug Banker.
Doug? This may have been the original owner, because I bought it from Rich.
So he is the second owner. Nice Porsche, Mike. I was the second owner of it in Florida, believe it or not.
Oh, no, he's the one that repainted it.
A little old lady. I did the custom paint work stripe, Fuchs painted, etc. It was then a totally rust-free 69,000 mile car. If you still have it, enjoy. And I just left it. This was a week ago.
Damn.
And I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm just like,
that
oh,
sucks.
I don't want to tell him what happened to the car. Hopefully he watches the channel and maybe knows this story. But
yeah, I mean, definitely similar to the fire, like just like kind of a shitty learning experience that like, wish I could go back and tell my 16, 17-year-old self, hey, call it earlier. Like, don't take one more lap. And
yeah, so that's something that I started, like when I started getting on track, like my first track day, I remember going out and like we had they gave us like too many sessions, and I remember feeling like I just got out there, I was kind of white knuckling by the end, and I was just like, you know what, I shouldn't be driving. And I pitted. I was like, this is dumb. This is when I'm gonna crash. This is when it's gonna get bad. Like I'm not relaxed. I'm not in the rhythm. I'm forcing the car to do things. Yeah. And I'm like, that's dumb. I'm done. I'm out. And so like luckily I got that mentality early. But when I say early, I'm talking about as a 30-year-old. Like I'm 16, 17 years old. Like you're not gonna have that.
Yeah. And I shouldn't have taken that car on track even in the dry in R888s. Because like that's another thing. Like yes, the R888s did fine in the wet, like, because I dated that car. And so they did fine in the wet everywhere else. They still stopped hard. They still did great. I mean, obviously it's not a great rain tire, but they worked fine. And so, but I shouldn't even taken it to the track in the dry because it's too much tire for someone that has not driven on track before. Like,
yeah, no, I don't recommend like our compounds.
Or
like 200 treadwear tires.
Yeah, when I was 17, I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, like, our compounds on my daily.
I've got a Porsche, I've got a race tire, let's send it. Like, that. Look at me with my big ass balls, just
slamming into the wall.
Just wheelbarrowing them in. Like, let's go. Yeah, no, I see that a lot. And like, it's like, that's what gets you into trouble, unfortunately. Yeah. But you learn, and you know.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been great. I need to cut this because I'm actually going to go and put a Chinese eBay turbo on an NB Miata that is not a reliable NB Miata. It's not a car that you'd be like, hey.
Probably won't become more reliable.
Yeah, it's not like the car that you're like, oh, this is the good donor car. This is like, there's a 50-50 shot that this turbo just grenades this motor.
Oh my God.
Like today. So I'm hoping it is able to get done. So keep your eye out for that video.
Another thing that you should do, or you should slowly get video, or you should see at least, is my buddy Isaac has a E30 that he has taken E36 M3 all entire front suspension and an E46 entire rear subframe.
Yeah, those are known for great rear subframes.
Well, excuse me, but
no, that's
obviously
awesome.
fixed, and that car's going to be mean.
What is he doing for a powertrain?
Right now, it still has the M20, but he has an LS block that is going to slowly get built over the next year.
So it's going to be a monster.
Yeah, it's going to be really fast.
All right.
It's got full 5-lug now, but
rubber side down, keep it out of the tire walls.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, he'll be all right.
All right. Well, Mike, I'm glad you came. This is good.
Thank you very much.
I've been wanting to tell this. I've been wanting you to tell this story.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, I'm like, man, like I could tell this story. I'm like, this is dumb. And you were still in Kansas, so we were gonna do like a FaceTime thing, and I'm like, nah, I want you to come and tell this story.
Yeah.
This is
not getting any more
ridiculous.
burned. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I wish I had an answer. I wish I could be like, I wish I could give like an audience like closure on like, this won't happen to you. It might happen to you. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, I hope it doesn't happen to anyone else. It kind of sucked for a little bit, but
if you smell smoke, get the fuck out of your car.
Get out of the car, take everything out. Obviously, it all worked out in the end. I mean, insurance paid for it. I'm glad I didn't try and put the fire out because, I mean, just let it burn to the ground. And
thanks to the firefighters who were just like, not that it mattered, like they weren't like salvaging the car, but obviously making sure that like the car isn't going to spread. Like it's not going to like, luckily you were in a pretty isolated area.
We were pretty isolated, but like we were near field, because I mean, obviously Kansas has a lot of fields and
you could have been like the cause of some big fire. Imagine you like take out some dude's farm. Like, oh my God. So
so it all turned out good in the end, and I'm glad, but definitely a little sketchy.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening or watching if you're on YouTube here. Respect the drive, and we'll see you in the next one.
Very true. All right. Thank you.